This episode we're finally stripping the gear cables from our O2M shifter, ready for some new, longer cables.
Well, it won't have escaped anybody that these gearbox cables are not long enough for what we need. We need them to go from where the gear stick is, just in the middle of the car at the front, all the way around to the gearbox at the back. And they actually enter from the back of the gearbox. So that's where this bracket goes on to, because it used to be a front wheel drive car, so these would go forwards and in, and it would all work perfectly. But somebody decided to move the engine to the back. So we need to take these cables off the gear stick and take the ends off so we can work out what we need in an actual cable, the Bowden tube and everything else, to get from this connector to this connector. Well, from the gear stick connectors underneath inside here, right to these connectors. So these rods seem to be about 7mm give or take, so I'm hoping we can get away with using some M6 Heim joints on an M6 threaded rod, as that's what a lot of these cables seem to come in. But we need to know what throw length we actually need from these first. So this is forwards and backwards, and that is just about in line with the end of the rule. In fact, I'm going to put it at the 10-inch mark, just in case there's anything missing off the end after all these years. And that goes forward to about 2.25 inches at full reach. Now, I'd imagine that this probably doesn't need all 2.25 inches for the travel in the gearbox, but I can check that later. But 2 inches is going to be around about right, which I know at least one source that has a 2-inch throw on the end of one of these rods, which is great. Now, the other one, I think, is actually a little bit shorter throw, because this just does left and right, and that appears to be barely an inch in total. So that's 9.5 at the front there to about 10.5 at the back. So the left-right cable has about an inch of throw required, and this one in an ideal world needs about 2.25, but I'm hoping I can get away with 2 because that's what I found online. So to actually get into the box at this end, I'm just going to put those down that way, and this bottom plate is basically folded over on top of a little gasket that goes around. So I'm hoping I'm not going to destroy the gasket, but I suspect I probably might. Oh yeah, there you go. So these tabs actually don't go over anything. I'm going to use a knife to get the excess off. These just fold around underneath, and this is literally just the excess where it is sealed in. And there's a little tab that rolls over the end. Now, I did give this a quick clean down just so that it was a little bit more obvious. I'm not sure how much you can see of this. But basically there are 4 tabs on this side, 4 on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side. Yep, 4 on that side, 5 on this side, 2 at the front, and it looks like 2 at the back. And you need to just pry them open very carefully to unbend this plate so you can get it off the bottom and get into all the fasteners. So inside where the rod's connected on, there are 2 little clips, obviously to stop them falling off so you don't lose gear selection, and they have a little pin on the end that these clip onto, and that's what holds the circlip in place. Basically, it doesn't go tightly onto the pin, or round the pin rather, it clips on over the top. So you just got to use a screwdriver and just pry the top off, and then it comes off nice and easily. So that's both of those off. Now this one comes off fairly easily. That is the left and right. Yes, so that is left-right, so that's the shorter of ones. That is now off. Now we just need to get this one off. And I have a feeling, nope, okay, that's not the bolt that I thought it was. In which case, now I have questions. I have fewer questions. You can use a flat blade screwdriver, go in behind the back, and it just pops off the front. This bushing has enough flexibility in it that it just pops over that little ball joint, and then it's obviously stopped from completely falling off by that, but actually that one is held in by the ball joint for this end. This one the short, the left-right throw to go between first, third, fifth, that one is just held in on a round pin, so that one comes off if you didn't have that little washer on. Now, in order to get the cables out, you need to remove this little C-clip. This just goes into a channel on the back and that just holds it into the housing. So I've taken that one out already. This one, flathead screwdriver, and you just twist it gently and it peels out. And then from there, you can remove the cables out the back of the housing. Cool. Then so put this one to one side for a minute and let's take another look at the rod ends. So this one looks to be about a 6mm internal hole. Yep, that's about 6mm, and the rod itself also appears to be about 6mm, which is very nice. Now this one has a similar size hole, maybe a little bit bigger. Now this one also appears to be about a 6mm centre and a 6mm rod, and we can also measure the travel of the actual bare rod at this point. So this one is once again, so this one actually has, wow, lots more travel, so it's massively constrained by that. So that is about 2 3/4 inches, so I'm guessing this one's probably going to be something similar. So put that in there, 8, 9. Yep, just about 2 3/4. So they have the same amount of travel, which would kind of make sense. You would expect that, I guess, to some degree, but it's definitely constrained by the gear stick, and I would imagine that constraint is also further constrained by the movement on the gearbox once it's all connected up. So now we need to take the ends off this end, and I did watch something which showed roughly how it works, which is absolutely fascinating, and that's as easy as it is. I've spent a little while trying to work out how to do this, and frankly, I'm amazed I didn't figure that out, because that now comes off. Basically what you do is push this all the way down, twist to lock it, and then these open up and come off the threaded portion of the rod. And you can see there's a little locking pin here that when you push this up, it fits into this J channel at the bottom. So it goes in, twists around ever so slightly, and then holds back in. And then to reinstall it, it just goes on and you release it to whatever length you need. So when it's in the car, you can pull that back, move it to wherever it needs to be to calibrate it on the shifter tower, and then you just lock it back in place. So that's a really neat design and one I'd like to try and keep. So now I've got these ends off, I can see that there is a thread all the way along, kind of expected, and it looks to be on an M6 shank, same at the other end, but the threads actually look to be about 7mm in diameter, which is a little bit weird. Not sure I've seen a 7mm thread before, but it looks like it's been flared out to make the thread rather than cut into the material, so I guess it leaves the material being stronger, still has a thread for this to grip to, and it's probably not too load-bearing given what it is, so it doesn't matter too much. But that is the clips, and there are 2 more that we need to get off the inside of here. Just spin this round, exactly the same as on the other end. There's 2. So that's the bracket off, our cables are out, and now we can try and get some new ones of these made up that are about 3.5 meters long to go all the way from there round into the gearbox. Now the rest of the gear stick, there are actually plenty of videos on YouTube on how to take these apart, and I'm not going to take this one apart for 2 reasons. 1, I don't need to, but 2, this bushing is apparently extremely fragile in some cases, and the yellower it gets, the more fragile it gets, and I don't really want to have to replace anything else in here. So this piece, I don't want to disturb. This nut on this end also is completely stripped out. This is supposed to be a T20 fastener, and when I put the T20 in, it just spins and spins and spins. It doesn't do anything. So I can't take that piece apart, and given the outside of that screw is the bearing surface for this arm to pivot on, if I lose that screw or take it out and I can't put it back in again, that will screw me over and I'll have to find another one, and that just becomes a chore. So on the basis that there is plenty of stuff about how to take these apart, I'm not going to take this one apart on this occasion. I may do at some point in the future, but today is not that day. What I am going to do is finish cleaning it up and probably put some new grease in, because there is a lot of grease inside there, and I'd really rather get some of the old stuff out, and I've got some new grease that I can put in to replace it with, and I'm going to clean off around the top, around this actuator ball that moves around on the bottom of the stick, and just make sure that there's as little dirt in as possible. So that's basically as far as we need to get to, and we can't put this back together until we get some new cables.
Don't forget to check out shop.pedalbox.show for merch and patreon.com/pedalboxshow if you'd like to support us a little bit more directly.